Welcome back, AJ here with ProLine. In the last video, we looked at measurements and the measurement fields as well as subcalculations. And in this video, we're going to be actually building out the price list in ProLine. So if you're not here already, make sure to head into company settings and then come over here to quotes. And then you're going to scroll down, and it might not be open automatically when you come in here. So it'll be this area, and you just click on price list, and this will open up your price list. And this by default here in this demo account, and then also all of our new users that come in and create ProLine accounts, we do preload some price list items and some quotes already. And so this demo account has a lot because it does have all our different manufacturer versions of our default quote templates. But so yours will probably have a little bit less than this. But you are going to have something here most likely already. And so this next step is going to be looking at that and seeing if you can change, update stuff, and or remove and replace and make sure that price list is accurate. Now, before we get too deep into this, I want to make sure to note that you can actually have a completely different price list for each location. So if you are a multi-location company that is operating in, I'm going to move this, I think it'll be out of the way up there. So if you are a multi-location company that is operating in more than one place, you can actually set a specific price list for each location. So if we have Athens selected here, I can select this, and then I can create a unique price list for Athens, and then use that price list for unique quote templates for Athens. Now that is going to be extra work to be maintaining quote templates and price lists for different locations, but if you got to do it, you got to do it. If your locations are too far apart, you're working with different suppliers, maybe even different manufacturers, that pricing is going to be different, and so you just may need to do that. And so we have that functionality there, but of course it's not required, and most companies are going to choose to just use company defaults for their entire ProLine account, which is totally fine as well. And so now let's actually head into our price list here. And if you see things that are basically already what you sell, maybe you just want to change the name, update the price, update the unit of measure here, you can definitely do that. Or you can add additional prices. So we're building out, for this series, I'm building out a generic roof replacement template. It's not going to be for any specific brand. I'm just going to do a generic, and if I search generic, I have some stuff in here. So that's all I have right now for price list items that are generic. And so I'm going to add a few here. I'm going to do generic shingle. Good. I'm actually going to add 3 different options for generic shingles. We'll say these are $90 per square, and we definitely want it to be a material. And so if we scroll down here, we'll see that that's popped up here. The price list is alphabetical. So we'll do this a few times. Do a better. And I'm not even sure why we started doing this, but our default price list and price list items all have all caps. You don't have to use all caps for your price list if you don't want to. It's just something that we kind of got in a habit of doing here at ProLine. But let me see. So this will do $100 for this per square, and then we'll do generic shingle best. We'll do 120 square material. Okay, I think we will probably need some hip and ridge, generic ridge vent, probably hip and ridge, and maybe starter. Do generic hip and ridge. So we'll do. What does hip and ridge cost? 75. All right. Hip and ridge. I'm exposing myself here. I'm not actually a roofer, even though I've worked in a roofing business. Generic hip and ridge unit of measure here. This is going to be is per linear feet. Is it per linear feet or per bundle? It's probably per bundle. Probably, it might depend on your supplier, but we'll probably do per bundle 75. That seems right. If we go to Hip and Ridge, yeah, that's probably right. Okay, perfect. I think that should be all the generic items that we need to build out a generic quote. Let's see, probably underlayment and yeah, probably just underlayment. We'll do a generic underlayment. Let me just see if there's an underlayment already here. No, all those are branded, so we'll do a generic underlayment. And that we'll say it's 75 a roll. All right. So there we go. So we've just added those price items in. So you're just going to need to repeat that process to do that. We do all the things I just added were materials, but we do have either material or labor. And so you can select the correct one for that price list item. And then look, so yeah, I'm not sure why we have 2 installation labors on here. I might delete one of those. Yeah, that should be good. So other labor, other material. Here's just an item we don't need. And so, yeah, you can clean this up. Now, for each one of these price list items, we have our price, and then we have our unit of measure. Now, the unit of measure, this is more just for clarity to whoever's quoting the jobs. And it can show in line items on the quote itself if you want it to. But otherwise, it doesn't really affect ProLine in a big way, at least not how ProLine quotes your jobs for you. But on this line as well, so we have some buttons here. One of them is to set the formula that is by default used to calculate quantities. And we will be looking at this in the next video in this series. Yes, this will be the next video in this series. We'll be going over the quantity calculation editor. So I'm not going to go into that super deep right now. Move that over here. But that is the button that brings that up. We also have a description. This is a customer-facing description. So when you create a quote with a line item that is linked to a price list item, it is going to pull that description onto the quote. Now, you can edit it on an individual quote-by-quote basis, but it is going to initially pull the default from here, and that is going to show on the end quote to the customer. So if you want to build out those default descriptions, you can. You don't have to. It's completely optional, but it's just a way to speed up the process if you do want to have some more detailed descriptions underneath line items on your quotes. And then lastly, of course, you just have the delete button. And that pretty much covers it. I want to make sure I have these notes to make sure I don't forget anything. So let me just look over these real quick and make sure that we are good. One thing to note is that while we do hope in the future to have a direct supplier integration, ultimately suppliers are very fickle and they like exclusivity and stuff. So it is going to be a little while before we have that. And even when we have it, we're not going to be able to have it with every supplier. And so in most cases, you're probably going to have to manually update this price list, which is understandably a pain, but it's part of the process of running a business, is making sure that your pricing information is up to date. And then the other thing, yes, this is one thing I did want to go over. So you can actually upload your price list as a CSV document. But at the moment, let me see, import tools. So at the moment, this is only for uploading your initial price list. So if you want to start fresh and upload a price list from outside ProLine into ProLine, you can do that. You can import a price list via CSV. Just know that this is going to replace completely the price list that's in there. It's not going to replace. It is going to add to the price list that's in there. We do not currently have a way to update the price list via CSV. And this hasn't been a big request since most suppliers don't provide CSVs of their pricing. But it is something that we want to add regardless, and make it possible to either based on the name being the same or possibly having SKUs in ProLine. We do plan on adding the ability to automate that process more of updating your price list. So always open to feedback on that. But as it stands right now, you do want to make sure that this pricing stays accurate. So whenever you have updated pricing from your supplier, you would go in here and plug in those numbers. The last thing, I don't even think I put it in these notes, but currently with sales tax, if you are charging sales tax for your area, generally you're going to want to add sales tax at the price list level. Different companies want to do this differently, and that's totally okay. You can add it on your quote as a line item if you prefer. You can even wait and just add it if you want to charge it on your invoice, depending on what kind of sales tax you're charging, whether it's sales tax your supplier is charging you, or if it's actually sales tax on your services, the way they do it in like Washington. So it is up to you. There's lots of places you can add it. There's no right answer. We don't currently have something built in for sales tax. And the main reason for that is because it is so complicated to get it right that we kind of want to see how our customers are solving it with the tools that we have before we jump in and try to create a solution to it. So that is something that will come later as well. And it might already be here by the time you watch this video, and if so, great. And so that wraps up the price list. Make sure you get this price list completely built out for your company with correct pricing before moving on to the next video in this series. And in the next video, we are going to be looking at the quantity calculation editor, which is really the most fun part of this whole process. So I will see you then.